Hey YouTube, this is Logan with Hideaway Homestead, that's Hyde, and I'm coming to you today, this evening, with a video about pollarding and coppicing. So here I have my willows. I've already done a video on them, so we won't go into detail about willows and all the things that I use them for, but the things I use pollarding for is for tree hay or fodder, which is just a fancy way of saying leaves to feed the livestock. So what I've got right here is I've got one of my pollards, and as you can see, I've got about 3 stems coming off of the main trunk, and then over here on this pollard I have 5. And the method of doing this for tree hay is to cut it during the growing season. So when you pollard or coppice, for the most part, you do it during the dormant season or in the winter time. So these trees, for example, are 3 years old. The first time I pollarded them was in the wintertime after their first year of growth. Normally you want to let a tree grow for at least a year before you pollard it, and you don't want to let them get too old either. So after you've done that, so let's say we've got our tree, it grows up, and then we come in the wintertime and we cut it off right here. That next spring, all those dormant buds are going to come out and make new limbs. And so you can continually do that in the same spot, and you'll get what's called a fist on the end of the tree. So as you can see, this is starting to get kind of gnarly here, and this will eventually grow into just like a big ball. Sorry about the wind. If there's a little wind noise, I know that I've tried to work with some microphones, but unfortunately it only works with my phone that won't let me edit videos. So it's a real big hassle to get that done. So I'm trying to just wing it on this. But anyway, the way that you do it is when you're doing it for leaf hay is you want to do it on a 1 to 5 year rotation, which now some of these I've been able to do multiple times in a season. For example, like on this limb where I'd cut off and give to my rabbits, I've given it today's a week, and this tree, as you can see, already has little buds coming out. Let me see if I can get it to focus here. Right there. So it's already got new buds coming out after a week. And once those buds take off, this tree is going to have just tons of new shoots coming off of this limb here. So the way I do it is I do it in a rotation. I try to give the tree rest, just like they would in nature. If you're familiar with any nature shows, you'll see how a lot of times, like on the savannah, there are animals grazing. So these plants are accustomed to that. But they don't do too well if you just constantly cut them down and take all of their green matter, because what they need is they need their leaves to photosynthesize to be able to have the energy to make new growth. So you can't constantly just take everything from the root system. But that's the reason why they produce so fast, is because of the root system. So we've established that pollarding is cutting at about, well, it's at about head height, but really the proper definition is above graze height. So whatever animal you've got, you're cutting it above the graze height of the animal. If you were to coppice, you would cut down here lower to the ground or at graze height. So you can do these on pretty much any kind of rotation you can think of, but for leaf hay to get the most leaves, it's best to do at max 5 years. But we'll have some more discussions about pollarding and coppicing. I think it's one of the greatest tools that we have to be able to regenerate damaged ecosystems. It's really wonderful because of how much carbon it stores in the soil. So as I'm taking this, yeah, I'm taking the carbon off. It's going through the rabbits, and then some of it's going back up into the air. But as long as I leave this stem intact and the roots continue to grow. And as you prune up here, the tree actually mirrors what you prune up here, and it'll self-prune its roots. So as we cut this tree, we are storing carbon and repairing soil as we feed the rabbits, which, as you can see, I've brought tons of, watch out kitty, I brought tons of rabbit poop back to these trees and put them next to them to help fertilize. And we're building soil doing this pollard system here, and we're feeding ourselves. So I encourage you to try this for yourself. I know there are willows or other species, as long as it's a deciduous tree, which just means that they drop their leaves during the fall. As long as it's a deciduous tree, you can cut them if they're a young sapling at head height and they will regrow. There's lots of trees you can do that with. So I encourage you to get out and look for local trees and experiment with pollarding yourself, or coppicing if you want to cut them down low. It's a wonderful tool for the homestead. There's so many things you can do with it. We'll talk more about pole wood and firewood and all the other awesome things you can do with Pollard and Coppice systems, but mainly wanted to focus on tree hay in this one. And there's plenty more that I could elaborate on if there's more interest in this type of stuff. So I appreciate everyone watching. If you like this, leave it a like. And if you're interested in seeing more, subscribe to the channel. I'm dropping a video every day, so hopefully there'll be plenty of content and something that you'll like. So thanks again for watching.